Hello there everyone. In today's video we will be discussing the cult classic anime series Ouran High School Host Club, a series that even with its niche concepts and bizarre themes has seemed to work its way into many anime fans' hearts. From my experience, I've found that a lot of my friends online as well as in person have some sort of experience or memory with the anime, much to my surprise. For the most part, when it comes to the anime series that I've covered on this channel, I can usually pinpoint roughly when I had viewed the anime or the reasons as to why I checked it out in the first place. But in the case of Ouran High School Host Club, I have a hard time recalling my exact reasons or motive. I'm fairly certain that I just randomly picked it out among the options of anime that were available on Netflix years ago. Now, keep in mind, when I first saw this series, I was still fairly new to anime in general, and I don't really imagine I knew what I was getting into at the time. Probably just looking for a comedy or romance series to dive into. And while my memories of what exactly happens in the show are a bit hazy these days, before I had just rewatched the anime and read through the manga recently, the unique concept of an all-boys host club and it playing into the theme of being a reverse harem has made the series stick out to me as very original. With a vibrant setting and great sense of humor, it's really no surprise that so many consider such a classic series. Ouran High School Host Club was originally a comedy, drama, and romance shoujo manga published from 2002 all the way through to 2010. Made up of 18 volumes created by the author Hattori Bisco. And as most successful manga, it spawned an anime adaptation in 2006, made up of 26 episodes. The series also saw a visual novel adaptation, which released on the PlayStation 2 as well as the Nintendo DS in Japan, as well as a live-action TV series and film later on in 2011 and 2012 respectively. But we'll just be discussing the anime and manga in today's video. I don't know, the live action anime stuff always looks very uncanny valley to me, so maybe another time. Ouran Host Club is about Haruhi Fujioka, a studious girl who has recently enrolled at the prestigious Ouran Academy. One day, while looking for a quiet and peaceful place to study, she stumbles across a seemingly unused music room. Upon entering, Haruhi is welcomed by the members of the well-known Host Club, a club in which attractive boys amuse girls from across the entire school. However, when Tomoki Suo, the founder and president of the club, startles the bright scholarship student, she accidentally breaks an expensive vase. With repayment looking difficult for Haruhi, the Host Club members come up with the perfect solution for the girl's problem. Work for the club and ultimately become a host herself. Mistaken for a boy by her peers, Haruhi has to entertain various female students while coping with her fellow hosts' extravagant personalities. And as you can tell, this is not your typical high school anime set in Japan, which I find very refreshing. You'll find that the Ouran Academy the characters attend appears more as like a European castle almost, which certainly helps play into the theme of only the rich and refined being able to attend its luxurious and prestigious halls. Obviously though, the main focus of the series has to be its colorful cast of characters that we find that make up the Host Club, each with a different flavor of personality to cater to the customers, as we find the gang of airheads in many wacky scenarios throughout the school year. Its strong points for me are definitely the more comedic moments, while the romantic subplots that occur as the series develops and the characters grow aren't really my cup of tea, I find, although they are much more tolerable when compared to most other harem type shows. just the concept of an all-boys host club is something that I find pretty hilarious as someone who lives in the US, and just the idea of a host club in general is pretty alien over here, as well as with most of the world, I'd imagine. I believe they're exclusively a Japanese um, business, while, I find host clubs strange, or a strange concept or idea. It's not the weirdest relationship service you can find in Japan, I'm sure. You're really just renting out a boyfriend or girlfriend for a date, and they offer you the companionship aspect of the relationship, typically nothing too sexual in nature. So, even if you aren't aware of the general host industry that's found in Japan, you won't be too confused, as much of the enjoyment I find in this show or series is the absurdity and random humor, which I guess less knowledge would help in that regard. Now, as I had stated before earlier in the video, Ouran Host Club is a reverse harem, so instead of a single guy having a group of girls fawning over him, instead we have the opposite, a bunch of guys playing for the affection of a single girl. But compared to other harem type shows, in this case I feel it plays off more as a parody, which personally I very much appreciate, because these days I can't really stand most typical harem type shows. I feel they mostly just play off as borderline hentai most of the time. Comparatively, Ouran Host Club focuses more as a comedy type show, while the romance is lighthearted and rarely aims to be sexual, thankfully. So this show doesn't come across as too creepy for the most part. Ouran High School Host Club is considered a shoujo series as well, which just means it's targeted mostly at girls as being the main demographic, while most other anime I've been familiar with are considered shonen, which apparently is for boys. And it wasn't until doing research for this video that I became aware of these categories. I never really knew what shonen meant, even though I had seen it everywhere in regards to most anime or manga I know of, so I've just never really questioned it. But Ouran Host Club is my first shoujo series, I'm pretty sure, and while I wasn't familiar with the term, I can typically identify a shoujo series by the art style, and while it's not always a guarantee, they usually have character designs that are very cute and elegant looking in the way they are portrayed, as well as most of the time focusing on romance as opposed to in shonen. But I feel that no matter what you identify as long as you enjoy the comedic style that's offered in these cute or kawaii styled anime, you can find a lot of enjoyment in this series for sure. Which brings me to one of the main reasons why I love the main character, Haruhi, so much. She really disregards a need for labels such as gender, and she's most of the time super relatable, typically making her the voice of reason throughout the series. It doesn't really matter who you are. I'm sure that most anime fans can find love for the show's unique style and humor. Now, while I do adore the anime, especially the English dub, I would only recommend checking out the manga if you find yourself heavily invested in the romantic aspects between some of the characters, some extra side stories not found in the anime, and are just looking for more of an in-depth conclusion to the series. I'm really only into Ouran Host Club for its comedy aspect, as I've said, which in terms of the manga often falls short and doesn't get nearly as many laughs out of me when compared to the anime. But then again, I have a very strong preference for cheesy English anime dubs. But the lack of humor I found in the manga compared to the anime left my focus being more so on the story and relationships, which all in all I found pretty lackluster. Don't get me wrong, I really love all the characters in the show, but I noticed that most of the advancements in the plot were just one of the boys having feelings for Haruhi, the main character, and them having to come to terms with those feelings by internally analyzing their emotions. Most of these arcs lead nowhere, and once you move on to the next volume or arc, it feels like the characters are just kind of reset back to normal most of the time. Obviously with the exception of near the end when Haruhi and Sao finally get together, which is by far the strongest point of the manga. It does a great job of building up their relationship and doesn't feel too rushed, giving a good sense of closure to the series. By far much better ending than the anime. I would definitely recommend you check out the anime first if you have any interest in the series though. It delivers on being a great niche type comedy with a unique concept, a lovable cast, and a very relatable main character without them feeling too much like a self-insert. I found the manga to be a bit too tedious in terms of the romance plots, and it didn't help that the comedy felt like a missing factor, leading to it just being a hard read for me. But then again, I'm not really the target audience. Anyways, thanks for checking out the video. If you have a favorite Ouran Host Club member, I'd love to hear which one in the comments. Thanks again for your time. Peace out.